We have 10 companies that are going to be pitching. The format is they have 5 minutes each. They can do what they want with that 5 minutes. They can use it all for pitching. They can also leave time for Q&A. We will not announce them back. They're just going to come on back to back to back. But I will announce the first one, and that's as ZUM. So ZUM, if you'll come on up, and the time will start counting down.
Hello, my name is Carlos Miguel. I represent Hello ZUM. We're based in Peru, down in South America. We're in the process of going live, and in that process, we are also starting our expansion plans, and that's why we are here. We are a team of professionals with ample experience in the insurance industry. Myself, personally, I started this project 5 years ago. I come from a broking family. My father was the first broker in Peru back in '63, so I didn't choose it, but I grew up inside a broker. He represented Mars for many years, and he sold this company to Mars. So I grew up not only in the insurance side with the broking, but also with big companies like Mars and some carriers in Peru and abroad. So we have ample experience on the insurance side. But what I want to talk to you about is the roles in the insurance industry. And here we're talking about the brokers and what is going to happen with the brokers. But I want to talk first about the different roles that there is in the insurance industry, because you can have different roles. So for example, a broker can have 3 roles. There are advisors, they act as a distribution channel, and there are consumers. When you're talking about an insurance company, for example, you can have up to 5 roles. You're a consumer, you act as a distribution channel, you take on risk. Sometimes if you are integrated vertically, you can be a service provider. So for example, if you have a hospital chain, and then you can be a reinsurer. So as you can see, we have different roles in the insurance industry, which I think personally are going to evolve over time. I don't think they're going to disappear at all. They're going to evolve. But some of the stakeholders providing those roles are not going to be there probably because they're not going to evolve through times. But I think this is very important to keep in mind, because I want to talk to you about 2 facts in the insurance industry that are related to the stakeholders. The first one is that everyone in the insurance industry needs the same information. And this is very important with what we have heard this morning regarding how efficient we are. Presently, we all need the same information to either do 2 things. You can either consult this information or you can do a transaction. Depending on your role, what you want to do. So for example, a regulator, he wants to consult information, okay? A distribution channel probably wants to do transactions and consult information. However, today, this is what happens in the industry. Oops. That's how we exchange information. So to consult information and perform transactions, it is very, very inefficient. Even though we're not asking anyone to share their secret sauce. We're talking about simple information that is in a policy. How do I exchange that information? What do I get today? It's either a PDF or I get a physical policy. But the broker needs that information. Everyone needs the information. So because of the way we're sharing that information, we're very inefficient. Second fact along those lines is that it's an industry problem. Everyone has been trying to solve it on their own. You know, Aviva was telling us this morning about having their own solution. However, it's a much more complex world because of all the relationships and all the different roles we have in the industry. We can't keep on sharing information the way we do, because if not, those problems are not going to go away. We work with a big broker out of New York, and we were asking them about the changes. You know, why are they changing so much? First thing they said, margins are not there. How many more people can you keep on firing, or how many costs can you keep on reducing the way we're doing if we don't become efficient by sharing information this way? So what do we got to do? What do we think the solution is? It is something we all talk about. First, we got to place the consumer at the center. It starts with the consumer, whether it's an individual or it's a company. It starts with him. He decides to share his information. That's where we got to start, in understanding that it's the consumer's information that he decides to share. How does it share it today? We saw it how it shares today. What do we got to do? We got to start sharing information digitally. That is not hard. We're talking about legacy systems. But if we go into detail, what is that information we need to share? There's no technology impediment for doing it. It's about politics. And we can't keep on with the politics because of the margins, because we haven't been able to penetrate new segments. When I worked at Mars between 2000 and 2004, same problems, same solutions, 10 years later, 15 years later. We have the same things there. We're sitting on top of all these untapped markets. We talk about penetrating new segments, but the way we're doing it, we're not going to be able to do it. Because at the end of the day, What everyone needs to do is based on an ecosystem that shares information digitally, you can consult the information and you can perform transactions. That is something that we all need to do indistinctly of which role we have. And this is very important moving forward, because if we're asking everyone to be more efficient, well, this is the way to do it. We got to share information digitally. So what do we do at Hello Zoom? Our first product is a software as a service. We're a platform that stands in the middle between the relationship with this ecosystem that is sharing or starting to share information this way and the different stakeholders. Presently, we're working mainly with the ones that have the role of distribution channels, but we're also working with a local regulator. In the case of the local regulator, he gets all this information from various sources, mainly insurance companies. However, how does he integrate that information? How does he interact with that information? There are a lot of things that regulators want to do, but because of the way we share information, they can't do it. And they're good things. We're not talking about doing bad things. It's good things that need to happen based on the way we can start interacting with the information. Presently, we're working with various distribution channels, but one key thing, one key metric that happened instantaneously is that when we talk about a distribution channel, we digitize 2/3 of their processes. That represents 25% savings on both sides, on the distribution channel and on the carrier, just because of all the things that, all the inefficiencies that go away by digitizing information and moving the business rules outside of the carriers. If we think of the analogy of the financial industry, the ATM machine, what does the ATM machine allow us to do? That instead of going inside the bank to perform a transaction or ask a question, we can do it outside. In the insurance industry, what happens? I, as a consumer, have to call someone, because when I can find the information, I cannot interpret the information. But when I call someone, probably that someone, which is the intermediary of the distribution channel, doesn't have the information. So he's probably going to have to go look for a PDF and find my information. So as you see, all these things that go hand by hand from one place to the other don't make us any more efficient than we need to be. So we can digitize 2/3 of the processes. We're working with various stakeholders, not only local, but various multinational companies. And more important, we're starting our expansion plans. I don't know if you have any questions. So I guess it's been very clear. Yes.
How far along are you? Have you implemented any real solutions?
Yes, in Peru we are live. We're working with the 3 top carriers. Key thing about Peru, it's a very small market. That's where we live also, but it's a very small market. There's not many carriers, so getting this up and live, even though it's been very political, it's taken a while to get to where we are. Now we're up and running, and it's become a standard. The brokers and the distribution channels we're working, they are very big multinational companies. And at the end of the day, what they proposed to the carriers was something very rational, in the sense that, why are we going to keep on being inefficient? All I'm asking you is, instead of exchanging information the way we're doing, we have to change the way we exchange information. With these multinational clients we're working with, our next step is to go outside of Peru, because one key thing, and this using the analogy of the ATM, what changes from country to country is language and currency. Keep that in mind. It is not hard to export this model. The ATM machine, you go anywhere in the world, they all look the same. What changes? Language and currency. Yes, we're talking probably initially about the more simple products where the most transactions are. The products also we want to penetrate new segments with. That's what we are targeting. But if you think about it, any product, whether it's a D&O policy or a personal lines, you do 2 things. You consult and you can do transactions.
Thank you.
Do you mind talking about you say you've digitized approximately 2/3 of the processes. Can you talk about that more
Yes.
specifically?
Yeah, you break them up into 3 main processes, the sales, the post-sales, and the collections, okay? And if I think of any distribution channel here in the States or anywhere in the world, on the sales side, you do the same things. You prospect, you quote, and you bind. And within those processes, and we spent, believe me, hours inside carriers and brokers in Peru, in Latin America, and outside, they end up being basically the same. So when you start looking as it is today, and then you put next to it that to be, this is how we have to work, you start looking at it and how many processes are eliminated, We can talk afterwards, and I can show you a lot of fine detail. And that's why we say the first statement, which it's impacting. But keep in mind one thing, that the 25% happens literally overnight, because from the moment you stop handling accounts in a manual way and you putting into a platform like this, your expenses, boom, go right down. So over a year, you can realize that. Also, the way the technology has been built, we can load up your book of business very, very fast without doing much customization in ZUM.
We're out of time, so thank you very much.